Welcome back to GRC. Today I want to talk about learning about the hobby, learning about racing and how to go about it, and a couple of books that I've been reading that have been really good. I'll go a bit more in depth about them in a minute. When you start out with racing, one of the things I really love about RC racing is the depth of the hobby. There's so much to learn. I've been almost 2 years doing it now and I'm still just literally learning things every day. When you start out, simple things to follow, which is, do the kit setup, do small changes, don't chase setup changes too quickly. Just get your right tyres on based on what the local fast guys are doing. That's probably enough. Kit setup, right tyres, and then just learn how to race and get better. I kind of didn't do that. I've explained that in the past. I kind of chased things, kit setup. Because I raced with nitro, 1/8 nitro 10 years ago, I didn't start from scratch, so I thought I knew more than I did. Anyway, so I've kind of come full circle. Now I'm doing a lot of videos on racing line, consistency, all that kind of thing, which has really improved me a lot in the last 6 months. So one of the things that I'm starting to get better at is setup. When I've got my driving to a certain level, I'm getting around the track, my consistency's in 95% plus at races. I'm now looking for finer things, and I'm really starting to look at setup properly, which is learning what the setup means. Making setup changes when you don't know what the change is doing is pretty useless. And I've done that for a year, like just make changes randomly what I read and not knowing what the change is. So everyone drives differently, right? So even if you're the fastest guy at your track has a certain setup, it might take you a long time and maybe never will you be able to take advantage of that setup, because the setup is set up for him or her who are very quick and might be better at you at different things where you're better in other areas, and the setup doesn't suit. So if you get someone else's setup that you copy, you have to adapt your driving to that setup, which could take a very long time. A quicker route could be to get very good at your own level and then set the car up to suit you, right? So, which might be different to the fastest guy on the track. That's why all the fast guys don't all have exactly the same setup. Anyway, so I'm at the stage now where I'm pretty quick, I'm very consistent, I know what I'm doing, I understand how the car works, and now I'm at the setup stage. So when I started doing the F1, which is more recently, it became super important because that thing is just so sensitive to set up, and if you got the setup wrong or the wrong tyres, it doesn't matter how good you are, it's pretty useless to drive. So that's what got me started. Anyway, the first book that I picked up was Invisible Speed. Invisible Speed is by Joseph Quagraine. You might know him if you're into 1/8 scale racing. He does YouTube and he's actually designed cars. Anyway, so talk about this briefly before. So I have finished the book or used it. I mean, it's not a kind of book where you can read it start to finish, but it's got a lot of parts in there. But I found it pretty good. It's a little bit repetitive. Its editing's not amazing, but a lot of information there, learning about all the different things. It is focused on 1/8 scale nitro, but any off-road, 1/8 scale off-road nitro, but any off-road, it'll be worthwhile. So it's my 1/10 electric. I still learn a lot about this. And so, yeah, it's a lot of anti-roll bars, and it talks about, Ackerman, all the different things that you can do are in there, and it explains it pretty well. So I found that pretty good. It's not that cheap in Australia because you need to get it shipped, and it's in euros, but it's a good book. It did teach me a lot, reinforced a lot of stuff that I thought I knew, and but like I said, it's mainly for off-road, but it's good. Now this one is one I got recently. Now, if anyone's thinking about getting to F1, I would 100% recommend getting this book. It's crazy how much I learned. So I've been doing F1 for a couple of months, doing a stack of reading, talking to guys at the track, and I just 10 times my knowledge just reading through some of this book. It's specific for F1. It's got a 1/12 scale as well, so the pan racing, so there's both. But I mean, it's got everything. It's so much learning how to set up the F1 car. It does ESC settings. It does your controller settings, your transmitter settings. It talks about all the different parts. It talks about racing lines and explains, even for F1 cars, it's often good to do what they call the go-kart line, which is not so much the best racing line all the time. It's not hitting the apexes. So it's called, this one's called the F1 Apex. It tells you sometimes at F1 it's better to keep, it's not point-to-point racing like four-wheel drive touring cars. So it's important to keep corner speed going around corners. So it even touches on that beyond like just pure racing technique, how to overtake, beyond just, then it gets into the guts of, everything about F1, how to raise the ride height and that kind of stuff. So I bought some like a ride height gauge that I can use my F1 car now, because my off-road one obviously is minimum 20 mils, and and this one's goes down to 5, and then also a droop gauge, which can be used for touring cars as well. It's not specific to F1, but I just got them because after reading this book, I just learnt so much. So some of the ESC settings I've touched on in my previous videos on F1 are not bad, but I actually learnt a lot better. So I'm going to do a video once I test out all my changes and make sure they're good. I'm going to do a video on my latest changes I got from this book. But yeah, if you want to look up this book, so it's Essentials F1 Guide. There is a touring car, 1/10 scale touring car guide as well, which I haven't looked at, but a buddy of mine's got it and he reckons it's really good as well. But if you're doing F1 racing, of all the things I've seen online or videos, nothing came close to this book. It is amazing. So I kind of feel I'm ready to actually start racing F1 properly now, and I can't wait to get stuck into it. I can't explain how much I learned. So these are 2 books I've been reading now. I'm obviously online's all good, and I've got, I read things online all the time, but sometimes it's nice to get a book. This is quite easy to take the track with you. You can put notes in it, if you wanted to. You do get, for $10 extra, I got the electronic version as well. So on my iPad, I've got the full version of the book, which is quite nice as well. But I don't know, something having physical books quite cool. I've been reading this, it's got cool pictures about all these F1 cars on there. I've got a new F1 body as well that I'm getting painted up by James Ainsley Designs, so that's pretty exciting. I'm going to do a McLaren livery, so I can't wait to get that to replace the old Renault one. But yeah, so I've also bought some new wings and stuff and for the car. So yeah, now racing wise, COVID has come back in Sydney and Central Coast, so I don't know if I'm going to race this weekend. I might do either on-road on the Friday or off-road at Ride on Sunday. The races are still on, so I might do that, but I'll see how I go. If I do, I'll take some footage. I haven't taken any footage of me racing for a while. I've been taking a lot of the A mains from states and that, so it'd be good to get some footage of my racing, and I'll do some. It's good then because I can do some analysis on what I've done well, what I haven't done, and together we can learn a bit more. So I'm really keen. F1, I'm really getting into it now. I'm looking forward to doing more races. There's a good track at Newcastle, which is about an hour north of where I am, an outdoor bitumen, and it's unreal. Like, it's got full, the ripple strips are all painted, striped, red and white stripes and stuff. So I want to get there as well. So I've got a lot of racing to do, but for the moment, I'm keen. So anyway, these are 2 books worth having a look. If I had to pick just one of them, I'll definitely pick this one. Now, there is an off-road version of this coming. I saw a thing where they're bringing one out in a similar style. I will almost certainly be getting that. Like, in terms of format, the format of this book is much better than the format of this book. It has similar information, and even though they're targeting different things, this is 1/8 off-road, this is targeting 1/10 F1 or 1/12 on-road. It's just the way that this book is set out, the tips and tricks. For me, it's a much easier book to learn from than this, which I kind of feel assumes a lot of knowledge, and it's not always clear. It's just that's a bit rambly. It's not always clear what it's about, the visible speed, but this is amazing. So yeah, cool. Thanks for joining. I hope you liked it. If you've read the books, let me know. If there's other books or websites that you think are worth checking out, please put them in the comments below, because I'll share them with everybody. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. I want to see more of this kind of thing. But I'll be coming back now with some of the stuff I've learned from this. The next few videos, whenever I do F1 videos, I'll reference some of the stuff I've learned from this all the time, so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about and what I learned from this and what I didn't learn. So cool. Thanks a lot for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Peace.